stream, which means we're probably already live on YouTube right now. So, um, everybody smile.
Okay.
All
Of
right, there we
course.
go. Hey, YouTube. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our live chat. I'm Sue. That's Melanie on my screen. That's Joey over there. And we're here for our periodic geeking out about Disney parks discussion. So thanks to anyone who's watching this, and thanks Melanie and Joey for continuing to be my buddies in this crazy little hobby.
We got your back.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. So today we're talking about things that make us happy in the parks. Like I kind of specifically said rides on the description, but really we're just looking for some warm and fuzzies here. So I'm just happy to spend an hour with you guys, like imagining walking past or walking onto a ride that makes me feel happy. So I hope that this spreads that joy out into the world a little bit today. All right, so you guys, how have you been? I know Joey has a new project going on. Joey, you got a new podcast.
Working on it, trying to get episode 2 out, but yeah, it's just something fun I'm doing with my wife. She was like, "Hey, you know what would be great is we were able to write off all of our Disney trips because of your really cool Disney podcast that you don't do anymore. So, could you figure out a way we can write off all our vacations?" And I was like, "Well, that's easy. We just have to have a podcast where we talk about all of our vacations." And she went, "Okay, do that." I was like, okay. So she came up with a name and we sat down and started chatting about it. And we're going to invite our friends that go places and do things on our show, Go Places and Do Things, or Go Places Do Things. It's just GPDT. It's kind of sweet and fun and just a little project of ours that we're going to be doing through our 50s.
I think it's awesome. And I listened to your first episode and enjoyed it quite a bit. You guys were talking about your trip to the Oregon and California coast, which is not too far from where I am. So it was really fun to hear you guys talking about the banana slugs and all
Oh
that
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, that was fun. I still see. So my daughter got so into banana slugs that a few weeks later on her birthday in August, I bought her a UC banana slugs hoodie and she wears it all the time. So we have banana slugs all over the house now. She's got stuffed animals, all kinds of stuff. It's like our
Oh,
favorite thing.
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Do you guys have slugs in Texas? I know you have a lot of things.
Yeah, we have snails and slugs. You don't see them. I don't see them very often. People probably do. And I do tend to, I like to hike. So I do tend to walk around some places, but I don't see them all that often. They tend to be in more humid climates like where you're at. You're more of in a rainforest than we are.
Yeah,
I
the
mean, there
slugs.
may be some people that are slugs here, but no, that's a whole
No
other
doubt.
topic.
Yeah, those are
Without a doubt.
But
everywhere.
but guess what? There's slugs everywhere.
Those kinds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's actual slugs here always. So that's just how I grew up.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
guess I
funny
didn't
when I
realize
talk to
that was a
someone.
problem.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they eat all the it's just a snail without a shell, right? So they'll
Yeah.
eat the flowers and stuff. Like they'll eat the dahlias before they can get all the way,
Oh,
started, or the tulips and things like that, just like any pest. So
Which makes it frustrating to
yeah, and
have
also
nice
they're
things. Yeah.
gross.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and gross too. Yeah.
They can get pretty big up there. I remember spending a 4th of July in the Seattle area when I was a kid, like 12. And we had bought fireworks, and my brothers would use them to make 2 slugs out of one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
common.
Yeah. No, I remember my brother with the magnifying glass and ants in
Mm.
Texas.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so
They don't have
cruel,
enough
so cruel.
sunshine in Seattle to do that, so
Yeah.
Right, that's a
Yeah, good
Texas thing.
point. This
Yeah.
the firecrackers are more likely.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys, so shall we talk about
let's talk about it.
Disney? And anybody who does watch this, if you think we forgot something or you disagree or you thumbs up, you say, please leave a comment in the chat. You can leave or in the chat or in the comments. Either way, you just have to be a subscriber to this channel. You know how to do that. So yeah, because we love to kind of have this be a little more interactive. That's the cool thing about being on live too. So so please feel free to chime in. So we talked a little bit before we started about like how we're gonna tackle this, and Melanie did homework. I made a list. And so maybe we should start with like what's on Melanie's list, or at least maybe give us a couple of them and we can sort of riff
Yeah.
from there. What do you think?
Yeah. Take turns and
Okay. All
yeah.
right. So where would you start, Melanie?
Okay. Well, when I was making my list, first of all, I was like, well, okay, it's going to be about what rides at Disney make me happy. But then I thought, well, a couple things aren't rides, but I thought I would just start with them because they really, truly are like what starts off my happiness. Um, so whether it's going to Disneyland or Disney World, Magic Kingdom, that first glimpse of the castle
Mhm.
is I have a big smile and just the anticipation. I know because you have to go around, through when you enter, and then it's start and get towards the middle, and then you look way down and you see the castle way down, and that's just my first burst of happiness, and I'm like, yep, I'm at the happiest place on earth. However, I feel that way at Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, so there's several happiest places on earth, but, um, so just that, first glimpse for me is magical, and what I have always done, because I've, been a lot, whenever I experience it with, it's mainly kids or my nieces or my own kids, and I always videotape like the first time that they see the castle.
Oh, I love it.
And that's just, I just love it. And just their reaction, and I think my favorite was my, 8-year-old niece, and she, her mouth just dropped in awe, like, "There's the castle," you know? Yeah, and I mean, maybe for, everyone that's not you know, that magical to them, but it is to me. It's just that first glimpse. Um, and then one other thing is my very first Disney memory, and I think I was 8 or 9, at Disneyland was the, Main Street Electrical Parade, and
Oh yeah.
I know that was at night, right? But and I don't can't really I don't have the memories of the what else I did that day. But I remember where I stood when I watched it, and the music and the lights, and it was just magical, and I really truly think that that's what got me hooked and
Yeah.
to love Disney even to this day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, are those 2 or one of them, y'all's experience too?
Oh yeah, for sure. The castle. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, if I play, especially Disney World, where it's, you have 4 parks to choose from where you're going to start your Disney World vacation. If I am able to do it, I will always want to go to Magic Kingdom first because of that exact thing. It's
Yeah.
like you're at Disney when you walk under that train tracks and you're in. And when I went to Disneyland in Paris a couple years ago, I did wait you were saying, Melanie. I filmed my walk into the park, and it was a little disappointing because they had all these walls up because they were doing a bunch of refurbishment ahead of the Olympics. And so, like the train station, it just looks like, just drywall basically. But eventually, you turn that corner and you are in that magical place. And it's the same feeling at every one of those parks for me. It's like every single time. And the other thing, like you were saying about people who are first timers in there, it doesn't matter if you're walking in there on a Tuesday at 4 p.m. There is somebody walking through that gate right then that has never been there or hasn't been there since they were little or whatever. And so, yeah, I love people watching and just looking at the people who are just standing there.
Hmm. It's like you're
It,
not really there until you see the castle,
yeah.
right? Whether it's
Exactly.
Disneyland or Disney World, doesn't matter. This this satisfaction of walking in through the turnstiles and walking under the train station, it almost is like an anxiety building, but
Yes.
you don't consciously think about it like that. You're just like, yay, I'm on vacation, I'm here. But for some reason, there's this pressure release valve that gets opened the minute you round the corner and see the castle, and you just go, I'm here. I made it.
Yeah.
In Disneyland, it's one thing, it's a bit of a trek from either the parking lot or if you're staying in a local hotel. Even if a friend drops you off on Harbor Boulevard, it's a little bit of a walk, but at Disney World, it's like you got to drive onto if you're on property, you've got to take the buses to the TTC, you got to catch a monorail or a boat, and then you got to get through security. It's all these stages, and the turnstile is like step 10. And so, but you're like, please just show me the castle already.
Yeah.
And so you're there, you're in it, that you've made it that far, and you're actually like inside the magic, as about as deep as you can get at that point. And yeah, it's a great moment. It's the beginning of it. It's going to be a really good day. Even a bad day at Disneyland is better than most good days outside Disney, or Disney World
Exactly.
or Disneyland. So yeah, I want to point out about the Main Street Electric Parade. I saw it as a kid, and I was enamored with it. But when I worked at Disneyland in the late 90s, they were saying that it was going away forever. Of course, nothing ever goes away forever at Disney, especially if it's popular. But they made this big announcement because they wanted to drive numbers up. Hey, it's going away forever. You're never going to see it again. If you want to see it one last time, come to Disneyland. And I was working there at the time, and so it's kind of easy, especially since I was working nights. I could just go in early, see the parade, hang around a little bit, and then go to work, which is what I did. And a buddy of mine and I went and saw the very, very last Main Street Electrical Parade at that time. And I remember where we sat on the curb, in the hub, and
Yeah.
watched those floats go by. Of course, then I saw it, 2 decades later. I watched it at Walt Disney World out in front of the President's Hall. And so, and I watched it with my kid who, in 1998, I'm thinking I'm never going to see this ever again. This is it. It's going to be something new. They just had Light Magic, which was, I think they were phasing that out so they could bring in Light Magic. So it was 97, and which ended up not continue. That Light Magic had its one summer and gone. Main Street
Yeah.
Electrical Parade is still touring the world and still doing those performances and still
Mhm.
wowing people of all ages. So yeah, it's definitely a great show. And yeah, even just hearing the music, you hear that music,
Yeah.
no matter
Yep.
where you are, you're instantly transported back to somewhere on Main Street or somewhere, in the
Mhm.
park where you're seeing those floats go by.
Yeah. Can you smell the popcorn?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your next thing on your list, Melanie?
Okay. Well, I just kind of, when I was looking at it, I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull up all the, uh, attractions and kind of just go through them and think of my thoughts that make me happy, and some of them are a little different. Like the next one is, uh, or actually, this is our first attraction, the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
And I think I love this ride. Even though, I mean, I guess you don't think of it as it putting a smile on your face because it's scary, right? But I guess just from the portrait chamber to, the doom buggy and the grand ballroom. And I think what I love about it, and it does make me happy, is just the innovation, the special effects, and just the even way back then, that were thought of. And um, it just, and also one thing I really love is getting stuck in there. I don't know why, because sometimes, you're in the dune buggy and you're like kind of like
Yeah.
you're going down and you're just stuck there. I don't know why. That makes me happy, but getting stuck in there makes me happy. But yeah, so Haunted Mansion is always a must do. And I know we've talked about in the past like our favorites and the must do's, but these specifically, I guess, reasons why they make us happy or make us
Mhm.
smile. Um, and my next attraction is It's a Small World,
Mhm.
only because it's my mom's favorite ride. And that
Oh,
makes
okay.
my heart happy
Yeah.
when she does go. And she hasn't been as many times as I have, but when she has gone in the past, we always have to go. It's her favorite. She was an elementary school music theater arts teacher,
Oh, wow.
and she loves that ride and loves the music, sings the whole, and she just, I have videotaped her, taken photos of her, just, looking and smiling and singing, and she just, you know, however, that's not a ride I like to get stuck on. I know we're staying positive here, but I do have to say that. I'm like, so really it's because it's my mom's favorite that makes me happy. Oh,
That's really sweet. A
um,
sentimental favorite. Can we
I-
just take a second to talk about those two?
oh, sure, sure, yeah,
So Haunted Mansion, yeah, that's totally on my list too.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
it's
that doesn't
just
surprise me at all.
yeah.
yeah,
But it is kind I was thinking like what is it a warm and fuzzy? And it kind of is. I don't know, there's just something about the it's so magical inside. I
yeah,
think. Like when I was thinking about like what specifically like is there a part of the haunted mansion that really you get that feeling that I get that feeling? It's that ballroom scene. And
yep,
that's where I always get excited if I get stuck there. And would love to
yes,
be stuck there for an hour.
just because there's so many things to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. There's lots to see. The music is really upbeat and the even though it's ghosts, and if it's the holiday overlay, it smells like gingerbread in there because the table has the gingerbread house. Um yeah, there's just I don't know what it is, but it just feels like I feel safe. I think there's kind of this sense of being like you're in a moment, you're safe there, you can just experience it and just kind of let it go. And as adults especially, it's really hard to get to that point, and usually Haunted Mansion will get me there.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I definitely turn into a kid when I'm at Disney, and I'm sure that's for you guys too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you bring up the ballroom scene, Sue, because that's the moment when the ghost accepts you, right? The ghost host says,
Ah, okay.
oh, the spirits are starting to, align and they've accepted you as one of their own or whatever. You round the corner and there's this ballroom where people are dancing and there is a lot going on in that room, from the pipe organ to the pictures in the ceiling and the wall that are, dueling, to the everything going at the table, the spinning dancers. There's just a lot going on.
Yeah,
Like you said, they change it so that there's gingerbread and there's it's affecting your oral sensory. Oh, or, yeah, your whatever they call it, your sense of smell and your olfactory. That's the word I'm looking for. And it's a it's a feast for the eyes and the music in your ears and just everything that's going on. And I think for little kids um, that maybe don't ride it that often, or maybe it's their first time riding it, um, they might be really scared, and then that moment has this, like you said, a magic, a capacity to make them kind of lean forward and look down into the ball like, oh, I want to
Oh,
sit up
yeah,
and
you're
see
right.
everything's good. I feel safer now. I've been told that the ghosts are okay with me being here, and it can really bring out the child in you, like Melanie was saying, that it makes you feel like a kid again going on that
Mhm.
attraction. And it really does, and it really can. Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, it's very well done. Small World, my daughter does not like that ride, so
well, it I think is Of all the people I've been with, it's the seems to be the most disliked ride.
It's pretty polarizing. I think people either really, really like it or they can't go. They just can't take it's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's a long ride too.
It is.
I
I
think
think it's a great break.
13
You
minutes,
know,
I think it is.
it's
So,
like, yeah, it's like 11 or 12 minutes long. It
okay, yeah,
feels like 30 minutes for most adults, but just
right.
being off your feet for 10 minutes sitting in that boat,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
even if you don't love the music or love the scenery, there's a lot to take in. Again, the boat is slowly rolling through there. You still can't take it all. You can't see it all,
Mm.
as slow as it's going, and it's kind of, you know, you can make yourself enjoy that ride even if you hate it.
I
Um, you
I
know,
think it's fun. And I just am not a person that would go on it more than one time on a trip.
yeah.
Like, it's
Oh,
that song
yes,
gets
yeah,
stuck in your head and
yeah.
Now let's
Na,
talk
na,
about
na,
this. So,
na, na, na,
Haunted
na.
Mansion and Small World are in both Florida and California.
Mm.
So, between the two of you, do you have a preference for either one? Like, which is your favorite Haunted Mansion and which one's your favorite Small World?
I don't know if I remember.
I
I
think if you
think
thought about it, what were
I
you going to say, Sue?
the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland, like a lot of Disneyland, I would probably, if I was gonna, if you were like, you can do one or the other, I would probably pick that one, just mostly because it's the original one. Um,
And I have that feeling too.
yeah, which actually it's, I don't know how, I mean, they're very similar now. I know that they're a little bit different, but that would probably be the main reason. The Small World, I do not have enough experience writing those two small worlds to be able to tell you.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think too how they are different.
Well, there's so it
I know
did
they are, but
Disneyland, they have Disney characters in it. That's one difference, and that's a new difference. But
Okay.
also the Disneyland facade, you board
Yes,
outside, you
true.
exit outside. It's
yes,
really, very much different experience throughout, from the queue to the full attraction to the whole,
yeah,
even the exit. Because when I worked there, they didn't have a big gift shop that you walk through, but now they do. So when you exit, you
of
kind of go
course.
through a gift shop. But and then in Florida, it's just sort of like a wall and a queue,
That's really true.
and the room is sort of decorated, but not, there's not really a whole lot to look at. You kind of scan it and kind of go, okay, I've taken it all in, and then you're in line for another half an hour before you get on the
Yeah.
attraction. Whereas at
Right.
Disneyland, they've got every quarter hour a bunch of little puppets come out and march around and do this whole little show, and you get the train going by behind. It's very kinetic. There's a
That's
lot
right.
going on
I
at
forgot
That's a
about
Disneyland.
really
that.
good
Yeah,
point.
At Christmas time, they light it up with Christmas
Yeah,
lights, and it looks
that's really cool.
fantastic. So, there's a lot going on there at Disneyland. A lot more than Disney World. And it's not just the ride itself on the inside. I think a
yeah.
lot of people actually look at the facade for Small World, and that makes them happy, right? I can imagine
Yeah,
I could see
it's
the one at
grandiose.
Disneyland. What's
That's the
that?
word. It's grandiose.
It is.
That's the word that I think when I see it.
You don't even need to go on the ride, and you can be entertained and uplifted by the
Yes.
just seeing the exterior of Small World.
Yeah.
There's a story that when the Imagineers were building a model of that part of Fantasyland, because that part of Fantasyland didn't exist before 64 with Small World. It stopped, in 59 they built the Matterhorn. That was there. That was kind of like as far back as it went. You went around the Matterhorn and went to Tomorrowland. So they extended back there and they built the Small World building, and they had kind of a model of the land to show Walt, and they were still putting it together, and the trees that were going to go on the ground, one of the Imagineers had put it on top of the building just as a staging area, so the artists can go through and plant the little model trees throughout the Fantasyland model. And Walt walked in and saw those and went, I like that. Let's put trees on the building. And so to this day, there's trees in big gigantic pots on the roof of the Small World building that you
That's
can't really
funny.
see. I mean, you can't even really see the building for the facade, but yeah, it's
That's so
funny
funny.
that they did that because Walt said, yeah, let's
Uh,
put trees up there.
Jeez.
If that story doesn't make you happy, then you're just an awful person.
Ah, Most of the Walt stories are good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
So
what else do you
shall I
have?
go on?
Yeah,
Okay,
keep
let's see what
going.
else I have. Well, I made notes about the Jungle Cruise because so you guys know my favorite Disney character is Goofy. Of
Mhm.
course, I do have my Goofy shirt
Yeah,
on.
nice.
Um, and I it's just I can't I always have to go on the Jungle Cruise. And even though some of the jokes are you remember that the same or similar, they just it's just, the whole ride is funny.
Yeah.
And and uh and also I like it when they're being punny and they and they trick people that haven't been on it before, right? With their and of course the backside of water always, that's
Right.
always the favorite. Um but that ride, I just don't stop laughing. I I really enjoy it. And that was one of the original rides, I think.
Yeah, I
Is
Mhm.
think
that
so.
is that correct,
Yeah.
At
Joey?
Disneyland
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty sure it's
yeah.
an original ride from Disney World too.
Because I think
Yeah.
I've seen some of those videos of, like of Walt and what he was around for, and because then we know he didn't live all that much longer after, and especially with Disney World, but just the uh him being, a part of it, and I think that was the video I watched, was him walking down the middle before there was any water, of Jungle Cruise, and
Yeah. Right.
designing what would go where, and and that I love that too. It's just he was so innovative,
Mm,
and but he also knew how to um get other people that were so innovative and talented, maybe even more than him,
mhm.
but he allowed them to do their job and be who they were, and just create, such magic. I mean that, or the Sherman brothers with the music, and just, he I guess, you could say he had an eye for talent. I mean, he was
Hmm.
talented also, but yeah. And I think that's just a big, big, big part of it,
Mhm.
just making it magical and making you, you know, want to go.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I don't understand people that aren't fans of Disney. What's wrong with you? Oh,
I'm
we're
kind
all
of
different
married
though.
to one, so it's a little tricky.
Oh, well, I am too. I am too.
That's why we
In
all
fact,
have
I
each
I
other.
should have I will have to show you this another time, but speaking of that, my birthday trip in this past July, and my husband just thought it was so funny that uh anytime he could see a part of the Matterhorn, he would ask somebody in our group, "What's the matter?" And they were like, "What?"
No.
And then he'd point, and he thought the whole trip. And even from our view at Disneyland Hotel, out our window, we'd look out and
He's like,
'cause you could see the top. Yeah, "What's the
He was
matter?"
committed to that dad joke.
Oh, he was, and, then it got to everybody rolling their eyes, "Come on, stop." He wouldn't give it up. But
Brent.
so for Christmas, so my daughter is a graphic designer, and at her work, she made this big poster, because it's a photo of him. I think either I took or my daughter took, where he's you see him and he's pointing, and you see the top of the Matterhorn, and she made this big graphic. What's the matter? Anyway, that was one of his Christmas gifts.
Awesome.
I'll have to show it to you sometime. Anyway, just so silly. But
That's great.
I, why did I
That's
get
awesome.
off on that tangent? I have no idea. Oh, I know about people that don't,
Right.
enjoy Disney as much as we do. But
Well, you were talking about laughing, through the whole ride, and I just love rides that make me do that. And
yeah.
the one that most comes to mind is crazy, I guess, because you'd think it'd be screaming the whole way, which is kind of a combination. But the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, which
Oh
is in
yeah.
the old Tower of Terror in California Adventure, I just laugh so hard. Like the whole time, I'm just either screaming or laughing. And it is just such a great outlet.
Yeah, it is. It's
Mission
a great,
breakout.
yeah.
That's it. That
A great,
and the roller coasters, I feel like the same way. It's like
Yeah.
the
yeah.
that California Screamer, or now it's called the Incredicoaster.
Yeah.
Um,
That's my favorite coaster.
yeah,
Yeah, at
it's just
Disneyland.
like, and it's the same kind of feeling of this exhilaration and um, just like it allows you to just let it go a little bit, and that also makes me happy, and that's kind of what started this whole thought of this topic because I was in a yoga class earlier this week, and we were just doing some like sort of meditation stuff. And our teacher said, think of a place where you feel joy. And I was like, I am imagining right now that being on that Incredicoaster right before it launches, and I could hear in my head the counting down. And I was
Yes.
like, oh, this makes me feel so good.
Yeah, the takeoff is just incredible on Incredicoaster, yeah. Um,
Yes.
but I think what I like about it is, it's the takeoff and it's the going upside down and the curves and the dips and the drops. It just has everything. And in similar fashion of why I like Cosmic Rewind at Disney World, well, at Epcot, but because it's, you do the 360, it's just, there's so many things. It's just,
Hmm.
those are my two favorite rides, one at Disney World and Disneyland, or
Yeah.
roller coasters, I guess, really.
Yeah. Joey,
Um,
do you get warm and fuzzy from those thrill rides, or is it the opposite? Because I'm sure a lot of people would be like, what are you talking about? I'm terrified the whole time.
So when I was a kid, I was afraid of roller coasters. My parents tell me that they took me on a roller coaster when I was like 5, and it was one where the bar came down and they were both really overweight, and I almost slipped out from under the bar.
Oh, God.
I was 5, so I don't remember it, but they would say that was it scared me, and I just built this fear of roller coasters. So I was like 11 or 12 before I went on a roller coaster again, and it was Space Mountain. I was at Disneyland. I rode Space Mountain and Matterhorn, and I was like, well, this is dumb. Why was I ever afraid of these? And I went. All I did all day long was ride roller coasters. But I remember my mom telling me when I was a kid that she loves riding roller coasters because they tickle her, and she just laughs the whole time. And that was the same.
That's
I
funny.
realized when I rode them, that was the same kind of reaction I had. So yeah, when I'm riding a roller coaster, 99.9% of the time, I'm just laughing uproariously because I'm having so much fun and it tickles me. Now, I'll admit, some places I go, some of the non-Disney theme parks, some of those roller coasters, I'm hearing sounds that probably shouldn't be there, and
oh,
Right.
right.
I'm noticing a
On
little
those old
rust
wooden
on the track.
coasters.
Yeah. I'm getting a little rattled a little too much, and I'm a little bit
Yeah.
concerned the thing's going to
The
come flying off the
Rattler.
track. Those don't make me laugh so much, but
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. The older I get, there are some coasters that just aren't I'm like the whole time like, oh, I'm gonna regret this. And Matterhorn is one of them now.
Oh,
I still love
yes.
the
So
Matterhorn, but
Matterhorn,
yeah,
I love
it doesn't
Matterhorn
give
too,
me the
but
warm and fuzzy.
I got to
Matterhorn
build
does
up
not.
for it. Actually, the last time I rode Expedition Everest, um, it tossed me around something awful, and my family
Mm,
wanted to go on it again, and I took a break and let them go ride it like 3 more times while
yeah.
I went and got myself like a soft serve or something, the Yak and Yeti or something. I don't remember, but yeah.
oh, I thought of one other thing about the Matterhorn. When we actually went to go do it, um, we were almost about to get on the ride, so we were just right there in the front um, line, and it broke down. But they wouldn't give us passes to come back
Hmm.
because I went and asked nicely,
Yeah.
but yeah. Um, so we just decided to go ahead and stay. But I mean, we watched them how they had to take people off
Oh,
down the
And walk them
mountain,
out the tunnel. Yeah.
yes,
gee.
yeah, down the mountain, and then how they had to scoot the carts or whatever coasters, or what is it called? The unit,
The
the
sled.
the
bobsleds.
sleds, yes, the bobsleds, of course, yeah, back down the track, and and so we were close to where the cast member was, and so my husband had to ask him, well, what's the matter? And we're all going like, oh, no.
That's hilarious.
I know. But and you know what? The guy said when he figured it out that was, he was joking. He was like, believe it or not, I have never heard that before. And, somebody say that ride. So my husband was just so excited that he got the cast member.
That's awesome.
Anyway,
Oh my gosh.
I know. Well, it just, what's
So
the matter? But you know what? That's how he had fun. How he
yeah.
was happy at Disney,
He was
and
being a kid too,
he
just
was
in a
being
different
a kid
way.
too. And I will say that the experience with getting to do the Star Wars, because he's a big Star Wars fan,
Mm-hmm.
that really, helped him to see why I like to go. But there's a lot I like about Disney, not just Star Wars. I mean, I do have,
Yeah.
I do really enjoy the Star Wars theme rides, but it really kind of, I think, hooked him, not necessarily wanting to go to Disney all the time, but he liked that aspect of it. So
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
at one point when they announced they were building Galaxy's Edge at both parks, both, Disneyland and Disney World, it made a lot of people really happy. Um, but then it opened up. I think it still makes me happy, but
Mm-hmm.
and it breaks my heart when people are complaining about how Disney's handled the IP. But I just, it's like, okay, you can complain all day long, but you could still go fly the Millennium Falcon, and you could
Yeah.
still go, on an adventure, and you could still go shop in the market and buy a lightsaber and build a droid and do all that fun stuff and drink yourself silly with blue and green milk. I mean,
blue and
it's
green milk. Yeah,
like,
we
Yeah.
did.
so, I'm incredibly thrilled that it exists. It might be some time before I get back there to a galaxy far, far away, but you gotta
Yeah.
love what, the fact that they even built it, and it's there to go see now if you want to. I'm a little sad about the Galactic Star Cruiser. In fact, I know Sue just had a birthday since the last time we talked, and I had a birthday on Sunday.
Well, happy
And
birthday, guys.
thank you.
Thanks.
5 years ago, when they announced the Galactic Star Cruiser, I remember it was 5 years ago because I thought, oh, when I turn 50 in 5 years,
I
Right.
I'm
remember
gonna
you
celebrate my
saying that.
birthday at the Galactic Star Cruiser.
Oh,
Wah, wah.
yeah.
Shoot.
Well,
So anyway, that didn't
Oh.
happen. But
by the way, what are they going to do with that? Have you heard?
There
nope.
there's no
No
there's no
plans.
word.
Okay, nothing.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they have ideas, but they haven't announced anything to the public. It would be great if they don't even need to run it as a hotel. They could just have shuttles leave from Galaxy's Edge to go over there.
Yeah.
It could be an upcharge, right? People would pay $20 a person
Totally.
to go over there and just kind of walk around, have a meal there, buy a meal, right? And
Exactly.
then come back to Galaxy's Edge. But as far as I know, the building's just sitting there with the lights off, collecting dust. So
It's gonna come back somehow. They're
yeah.
not gonna just completely
Yeah,
trash
yeah. I
it.
figure they'll
Yeah.
Some
do
young
something.
executive will get hired and he'll make it his pet project or her pet project to make it something again. So we'll
Exactly.
see.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I have a question for you too.
Mhm.
Do you like or not like the tiki room?
Ooh, I love the Tiki Room.
I like the
The tiki
tiki
room.
room too.
I figured you did love it because you're Disney fans. But
When I go to Disneyland, I have to do the Tiki Room every trip because I really, oh, that's the original.
Yeah.
It's the first animatronic. There's a percentage of me, and it's not a small number, that this is one of the reasons why I appreciate Small World, for example, is it's from the 64 World's Fair, right? There's
Mhm.
there's things I appreciate about Disney that are beyond the movies or anything other than the fact that this incredibly innovative man moved tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people to access their creative energies to make these incredible things that today we completely take for granted, but would not have.
Mhm.
Robotics wouldn't be at the place that they're at if we didn't have things like Walt Disney Imagineering making birds,
Yeah.
toucans, right, that
Yeah, yeah.
sing. And
Yes,
so
right.
I love the Tiki Room for what it represents, but I also enjoy it. I like the music and I like the show. I like taking my friends and my family there, and I usually find a seat in the back because I want to see their expression when the totems come alive and
Yeah.
they kind of freak out, like because I seated them a little bit too close to them and the little eyeballs are
Yeah.
looking at them, and they.
Yes.
I love that about the Tiki Room, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm a big fan. The one in Florida, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law had been several times to Disney World before we finally went with them in 2014. And you would not believe the number of attractions they never even went into because they just didn't know it was there or didn't see a value in going in. Like
Yeah.
all they wanted to do was dark rides and roller coasters. And I remember
Uh-huh.
taking my brother into the Tiki Room and he's like, "What's this?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"This exists? This is a thing?"
It is a
That
little
he had
weird.
no idea. And then when the show ended, he was like, "That was really cool. We should do that every time. Like, why don't we do that?" He had never been to the Country Bears. He did not know it existed until I took him in there, and he's like, "This exists." And so I love that kind of stuff, and it's a great place to go and put your feet up for 10 or 15
Oh,
minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is one of the fun things is that discovery that you get, and you could be there, have gone to these places 100 times, and there's still like some, if you just allow yourself to get a little bit lost or whatever,
Yeah.
you can be like, how long has this been here? What is this?
Yeah.
Do
It's
you
such
do
a
you
fun
find
feeling.
yourselves singing along
Oh,
with them?
totally.
Oh, I absolutely know the words, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hearing the Tiki
Oh,
Room song right now.
yeah. I like it when Michael says he sings so beautiful, he should sing solo. And Jose says, "See, so low, we can't hear you." And then what is it? Is it Herr Schmidt or Herr
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fritz?
There's
Herr Schmidt?
probably a lot of things
Oh,
about
he
the
has no
Tiki Room
hair.
that they're a little bit out of date. But that's part of I'm sure
It
that
was
like
they put it in 64. It's out of date even for us, right? So when our
that's the
kids
thing,
go
like,
there, they still get the joke, even though it's well
yeah,
beyond,
it's like, they're the kind of like probably like, oh my gosh. But for me, like it's totally the kind of silliness that was in my childhood. Like that was the kind of
Yeah,
stuff that,
yeah, I
the
love it.
jokes and all that, and the birds.
Yeah. Even though it came out in it hit the World's Fair at 64, it didn't go to Disneyland till like 66 or 67. To me, it still represents that Kennedy era 60s, that really innocent, the late
Yeah.
50s, Leave It to Beaver kind of Americana. To me, that's what that kind of stuff still represents. And it's so precious that I just want to hold on to it and
I
show it to my
know.
kids, show it to my grandkids someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Try not to get
yes, that's
emotional.
a happy place.
Yeah.
Especially if you bring a Dole Whip in there, which now I really want a Dole Whip.
Yes.
Well, another oldie but a goodie, as I like to say, Carousel of Progress.
Oh yeah.
And this is a true story. Sometimes when I wake up and I'm gonna start making my coffee, I ask Alexa to play "There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow," and
Oh.
I just as I'm making my coffee and I listen to it, I sing along, and it just makes me happy.
Yeah.
Um,
Sherman Brothers.
I like those are the things I can do when I'm not at Disney to,
Yes.
entertain myself. But
Uh,
I just and I and the Carousel of Progress, I just yeah, I know they've made changes through the years, but I don't know. It's another innovative thing that Walt did, and
mhm.
just I have just appreciation for it and amazement.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
but
Same.
What I
yeah.
have an alarm on my phone. I have like a bunch of different times just preset in my phone alarm, and I don't use it at home, but like when we travel, I'll use my phone as my morning alarm. And one of the songs that I use on there is the Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. That fanfare at the very beginning, it wakes you up very well, but it's
Mhm.
also like Okay. And I'm sure I put it in there on that alarm when we were at Disney, at some point. And now it's just every time 7 o'clock or whatever alarm goes off, it's
Yeah.
that. But yeah, you're right. It is a good way to start the day.
Yeah. And it just, I don't know, puts me in a good mood
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Have
and the song is not very long, so I can make my coffee in that.
What's great about this song is you hear it like 5 times on the ride or more, right? Like, and so by the time you get to the third
Yes.
scene, when you're moving on to the next scene, everybody in the theater is kind of
Everybody's
singing it.
it's
And
true.
you probably have experienced this yourselves, but when your kids start singing it, it's
Yeah.
just such a great moment. And I remember seeing my daughter singing the song as the carousel was moving around.
Yep.
I didn't see the carousel progress myself until I was, well into being an adult, but I grew up with America Sings at
Mm.
Oh,
Disneyland. And that I still have really fond memories of that. And even as a kid, even as a 10-year-old, I wanted to go do that on every trip. That was
Mhm.
like a must do because it made me happy. Silly seeing these silly animals up there singing about American patriotism and everything.
yeah,
And then,
yeah,
what it was a really unique way to use that space. But I'd always wanted to see, carousel progress. So of course it was a must do. And then naturally we bake it into every single trip because it's a great place to take a break. But it's another one of those. And I had actually erroneously said a minute ago that the Tiki Room was at the World's Fair and it wasn't. So it's like I'm talking about carousel progress, like, wait, that was at the World's Fair.
Mm.
The Tiki Room did come in 64 and it paved the way for them to be able to build those technologies for
yeah,
the human
right,
audio animatronics and the dog and
Right.
everything else.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
yeah. So Rick, when he watches this later, will be fact checking me in the comment section. I fact check myself.
Rick is,
I know.
I think Rick is here right now. So hi,
Oh, all right.
Rick. Okay, I'm gonna just step on your list for a second, Melanie, because I know the pirates have to be on there.
Yes, yes, it is. It is.
I mean,
I
that one, absolutely. Just the smell of that pirate water makes me happy.
I think that was the last ride, and of course, Rick can fact check, that Walt actually worked on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Am I right, Joey? Do you
He
know?
didn't see it finished, but he did.
He didn't
Yeah.
see it finished, but it was,
But it
yeah,
was New Orleans Square was being finished out, and the Pirates of the Caribbean was the last
Mhm.
attraction that he worked on.
yeah,
There were a couple of things, the Haunted Mansion hadn't opened up yet either, and so, but he had been instrumental in working on those, and yeah, the Pirates of the Caribbean is pretty great. And just we had talked earlier. I don't remember if we talked before we started or if it was before we started or after we started with the live. Um, in California, it has two drops, and in Florida, it
Mhm.
only has one because they didn't build it up high enough. It's only on the second floor, so it drops down to
okay,
the first floor.
there you
And then the
go.
water table is so high in Florida that they couldn't
Okay.
go any lower, or the boat would be a submarine. So they, which probably inspired the one they have, I think, in Shanghai that actually does
Right.
simulate going underwater, which is weird. And I can't wait to someday ride that and see how that whole thing works. But yeah, but the
Yes,
one in
I mean, now
California has
I'm
two
having
drops.
the memory of liking the pirates at Disneyland more than World, and that's probably why, because there were more dips, but yeah, I have uh great memory. Well, I don't know how great it is, but it's my memory of pirates and the first time taking my boys on it, and they were little, and just they, every time there was like the gunfire, the water, exploding, whatever, just their reactions, jumping and holding on, and it's just
Yeah.
magical. I don't know. Then when the ride was over, of course we go into the store and bought them plastic swords.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't know how many
And
of
then
those
the
little
older
guns I
one
got.
whacked the younger one's sword. At least they weren't hitting each other with it, but they were hitting swords, right? But he hit it so hard, it broke my younger son's sword.
Oh
And
no.
here we are in Disney
Oh no.
in the waterworks crying. Of course, we went and got another one, and, that's, because it's the happiest place on earth.
Yeah,
There's no
there's no
crying
crying.
in Disney.
Only happy
Oh,
tears.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, but my boys loved that, and just they were really too little for roller coasters, but it was an experience with kind
A
of
drop.
dips, and
Yeah.
drops, and yeah, so they were. I mean, it was scary to them, but fun.
Yeah.
And so it's just fun, and I know I have told you this before, at least I think I did. Um, one of my best memories with my daughter, it was I had taken her our school district used to have a February break,
Mm.
like the 1st or 2nd week of February, and just she and I went to Disney World, and I can't remember if she was 9 or 10 or whatever, but, um, and we got to go on Expedition Everest 8 times in 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure I told you guys that, but she
Wow.
wanted to go more, and I'm like,
And you were like,
I can't do
That's
it.
enough.
I know. I was just like, I can't do I love that coaster though, going backwards and then like Joey, saying as you get older, like with the Matterhorn, it's just so rickety, rackety, I
Yeah.
don't know. But and then it made me remember the reason I like Space Mountain and Disneyland over World is it's not, I don't know, I kind of tweaked my back on the Space Mountain and Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
it's
then,
not as
like, for a
nice.
year, I didn't go on either one. And then I was just like, maybe I just had you know, my, you know, my back was just bothering me. And then that just kind of set it off. Right. So I should give it a try again. And so I did it in land and no problem and, loved it.
Hmm.
And then I did it in world and and I was really paying attention to like the difference. And
Mm.
I know the one in world is longer,
It's older
the
too.
track is longer, yeah. But it just was jerkier. I don't
Mhm.
know. I mean, I didn't hurt my back again, but thank goodness. But
That's good.
yeah, but that's a thing I have to consider. You know,
I know.
it's getting older. Not getting, I'm old, but that's okay. Young at heart.
I know
Right.
every time I can go on those rides and get off and still feel good, I'm so happy because the
Me
older I
too, and
get,
I'm
the
like,
more
"Is that
because
the
you
last
can.
time?"
I
Oh
know.
my
Yeah. What's fun is when you ride something brand new or new-ish like Seven Dwarfs or Slinky Dog, and it's so smooth.
I know.
And
yeah,
then you go on something
true.
like Space Mountain or
I know.
Matterhorn, and you're just like,
Exactly.
why can't they just?
Last year was the first time I rode Slinky Dog Dash, and I'd never, I didn't I thought it was just kind of a kiddie roller coaster, right? It was so fun.
It's fun.
That's
I can't
another
wait to do it
one.
again.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't have any plans. That was gonna be my next question. Do you guys have any future plans, whether this year, next year, to go to land or world or
Well, Sue might be going to France.
Yeah, but I don't
Oh,
think I'm going to Disney France
oh, that's right,
though.
we talked about that, yeah.
But well, I don't know if it'll be this year, but there's no way I'm missing Epic Universe when it opens in
Hmm.
Universal. So sometime in the
Oh,
next like 18
yeah,
months,
Yeah. So
I have to go to Florida.
they were planning on opening it in 2025. Is the word
It,
that it's not going to happen or
no, it's opening in May, but I don't think
huh,
I'm going to get down there
yeah,
before next year just because just
everything else, all
just
your other
nuts. Yeah, because I got
vacations?
other stuff going on.
You got Europe, you've got
If it
Indonesia, you've
was
got
opening
yeah,
next week, I might have a better shot. But
got to go back to New
yeah, I'm
Zealand
just
before
going
you
to
go.
Epcot to experience all the world all
I
the
Yeah.
just
places
want to
in the
go
world.
to,
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about things that make us happy. I saw a picture like a week ago of Flower and Garden Festival. It must have been like announcing something for Flower and Garden at Epcot when it's coming up. And I just had this like visceral response of like, "Oh, I just want to go and be there
Oh, yeah,
for that." I think it was because it's so beautifully springtime and it's flower and garden.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
also like I do miss Epcot and there's like a warm and fuzzy for me just in World Showcase in general. Like
yeah,
and it's I think it's the just all the nooks and crannies of it. It's that explorer kind of feeling walking through there, and all the just nifty things you can shop for and eat and drink
Yeah.
and see, and music's different in every land, and it's just again one of those things that you're just in the place in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping to go to Disneyland in either the fall or winter. And I probably won't go to World until the Monsters Inc. land is built,
Yeah,
because
that's gonna be
Monsters
fun.
Inc.'s my daughter's favorite, always since she was 3 years old, favorite movie. And yeah, we're really looking forward to that. But I'd also like to go to Universal too. That's kind of on my bucket list. I don't know
Yeah.
when, but it's out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, exactly. It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, it's noon. So, does everybody want to say like one other thing that they thought
Uh,
of when they were thinking about this topic?
Yeah, I just want to
mm,
say that kind of echo a little bit about what you guys were just saying about flower and garden and stuff. And if what the idea that makes me happiest about ever going back when I have the opportunity to plan that trip is probably a kid-free trip, which I know some people have some mixed feelings about, but I would love to just go with my wife and do the wine and dine and just stroll through World Showcase with no agenda
Mm,
and no scheduled events, just shop and eat when we want to
mhm.
stop and eat, and stop and look at stuff when we want to stop and look at stuff, and stop and enjoy an attraction if we just so happen to feel like that's the attraction we want to enjoy at that moment. Not, I remember the last time we were there, we had gotten uh passes for Cosmic Rewind, and at the moment that we were about 15 minutes away from the time when we needed to be there, we were at the American Pavilion, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a
oh,
long
see it.
walk. We need to go. And my wife was in a
Oh,
wheelchair, and we're
that's
like
right.
pushing her through the crowd,
That's right.
rushing. And it just didn't occur to me just how far. It was like a 2 mile walk, or at
Mm,
least it felt like it. That's a
Yeah.
long way to go from the American
Yeah.
Pavilion all the way over to Cosmic Rewind. And
Yeah.
I just don't want to be. That was probably the one time I can remember in recent memory where we were like needed to be somewhere else, and we were clear on the other side of the park because I hadn't planned for that. That's just how things ended up. And it wasn't like it was even an issue. We had all the time in the world until it was time that we didn't have time, and we found
yeah.
ourselves in the wrong place. But I just would love to take a trip with my wife where I could just, and if we go back and take a nap at the resort, great. Go back in the evening and see a show or watch the fireworks, whatever. I just
Yeah.
want to. That makes me happy. Thinking about that, not going and planning some, big trip where we're trying to squeeze in every possible thing because we know we're spending thousands of dollars and traveling thousands of
Yeah.
miles to make sure that we can get all the magic and save all the money we can, and and eat all the stuff. I just want to go and just what we do, we do. What we don't do, we just didn't do because we just didn't make time for it, or it didn't matter. And there's
Yeah.
only a couple of things that really matter the most, but being with somebody that you care about and just kind of being in a place that is magical and makes you forget about the rest of the world, that
Yeah.
makes me happy.
Yeah. I agree.
I love that. Another thing when I was thinking about that, picturing being on that roller coaster, and listening to the countdown in my head, um, being there with my daughter was part of the warm and fuzzy.
Hmm.
It's like you're going with people, you're having this shared experience. It's cool to go by yourself. That's true. But having that shared experience and like, especially like stuff like roller coaster where it's like you're both like being brave and doing it together and all that, that is warm and fuzzy for me.
Yeah. There's, all the Facebook groups and just, reading other people's experience. And um, I've never done a solo trip. And,
Mm.
a lot of people have, and they've talked about it. And I'm curious about it because I like the memories and just experiencing it with the people you love and care about. Um, but there's just something, and I'm like, maybe sometime I should just try it.
Yeah.
I Because I like to be around, I experience things with people. So I'm not sure, not, sure, but then, I won't know if I don't go try, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should go find
Have y'all
out.
ever thought about a solo trip?
So who's done
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, I did a solo trip in Disney World in 2019.
Okay. Well,
It
yeah, I'm sure
was
you did a show on it. Maybe I just forgot.
it was like that is
Oh, wait a second.
so
Your one in
ancient
France was
history.
really
Uh,
solo too.
and I did a day in solo in
Yeah.
Rick is saying do it, Melanie, with
Oh,
4 exclamation points.
okay, okay.
But yeah, so it is, what Joey was just talking about a minute ago about like kind of having no agenda and just kind of going
Yeah.
at whatever pace you want. It's really easy to do that when it's only you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
I can see
nobody
it is.
else. Yeah, there's nobody
Yeah.
else being like, well, aren't we also going to do this? Like you just get to decide, which
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about you, but especially as an adult, it's like you don't usually just get to decide. You just you always have you have an agenda, you have
Yep.
places to be, you're taking care of people, you're doing all the things.
And you're
And
trying to meet everybody's expectations. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so a solo, even a day in the parks alone is
yeah.
really something. But that was a really cool week. I got to go for I did like a Monday to Friday sort of thing. It was something I was able to do related to my work and that I had at the time. And yeah, I would totally do it again.
Yeah. Well, that's good feedback. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to consider it. The problem is that whenever any of my friends or family like, "Oh, you're gonna go to Disney? Oh, I
Yeah.
wanna go
Coming
too."
to
I'm like,
You have to
"I
keep
don't
it a
know. We'll
secret.
see." I know. Well,
Yeah, well, if you go with your friend, then you can share the cost of the hotel room and all that
there's
stuff,
that
right?
too. Yes.
So, there is that, but really, that's probably the only thing that's really a shared cost because you know, 2 people is 2 park tickets, one person's 1 park ticket,
Mhm.
1 airplane ticket,
I know.
um, one
I know I'm
person's
looking at my
food.
reward dollars on my
Yep,
Disney
you
credit
can
card. I'm like, "Oh,
exactly.
that's enough for I can go."
And if it's only you, then you can choose to go, like, assuming your schedule's fairly flexible, you can go on like midweek in an
Yeah.
off season and the hotels are cheaper and the tickets are cheaper and the crowds are lower. So there's just a whole bunch. So maybe we should have this be a topic that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
discuss.
All right. Next time it's
We could do
Yeah.
pros and cons.
of solo
Yeah.
trips.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh,
got some
yeah.
thoughts. So that's
Okay.
good.
All
Okay.
right. All right. I like it.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Hey, thank you, Rick, for finding us and tuning in and commenting. That's awesome. Um, and thanks, you guys, for making this happen. This is always fun, and it's been a while, so
Always.
it's really nice. Anything else you guys want to say before we log off here?
Nope.
No.
Okay.